Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm James.
And welcome to the Cornwall Property Podcast, where every week we bring you the latest news, hot topics and guidance around the Cornwall property market.
Stay tuned to be informed, inspired and to have any of your property related questions answered by trusted local property professionals.
Welcome back to the Cornwall Property Podcast. This is episode 34. I'm Dan.
I'm James.
And we are here to inform, educate and inspire you guys to hopefully get involved with property. Obviously, we've got a bit of a particular emphasis on the Cornwall property market. And this episode for us is an Ask Dan and James episode. So how do people get involved with this?
They can log online to cornwallpropertypodcast.com, go onto the front page there, scroll down to the bottom. They can ask us any property question they wish. They can also come onto our socials on Facebook and just ask anything you want, and we will do our very best because we do get quite a lot of questions. We will try our very best to get them up on the show, and without you guys we wouldn't have this content. So thank you for giving all the questions. So without further ado, we will start with our first question, which is from lovely Sarah in Helston, who asked the following. Can I use a home buyer survey to negotiate a price? I have recently had one done that says a property needs a lot of repairs doing to it. Can I use this survey along with the property valuation to my advantage to negotiate a better deal? Good question,
Great,
Sarah.
Yeah, brilliant. And obviously great for taking action. You're buying property, which is great. And in short, yes. Too right. Of course you can. Obviously, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a better price. So I think, depending on the severity and the extent of the work that's needed to be done, Sarah, I think that is a big indicator. I'll give you an example. James and I have just bought a commercial building in Truro, and we found out a very small section of an extension of that building has Mundic. So we had a Mundic survey done. It indicated that just this small section of it. Now, that makes it unmortgageable. We could have just pulled out, but we said, actually, no. We went back to the vendors and said, look, we're buying this cash. We're happy to buy this cash. We've now found that we need to knock this part of the building down and rebuild it with modern construction, such as we'll build it with block or timber frame. We're looking to do timber frame. And as a result, it's going to cost this much. So we got our builders round, we got our team round, we got them to give a quote, paper quote, to get this works and this remedial works done. We said, look, this is what it's going to cost. As a result, we need that taken off of the originally agreed purchase price. So I don't see what the problem will be there. 100%, I would anticipate and I would expect if I was selling a property, and it would, depending again on the severity, and if it wasn't something that you could have seen on a viewing, or if you weren't sure of, and it's just literally a wow, I wasn't aware that was the case. I definitely think you need to go back to negotiate. But what I also need to really emphasise is, it's important that if this is not going to work, you need to be happy and prepared to walk away as well, Sarah, because you can't just force this to work. If the numbers don't stack and it's not going to work, you can't just think, oh, it's okay, I'll deal with it and I'll make it. If it doesn't work, be prepared to walk away. But yes, in short, to answer your question, too right, you should be able to renegotiate. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, well, firstly, Sarah, well done for you getting the survey done in the first place. You know, it's very, very good. I know they're not cheap. They can be, 500, 1,000, sometimes even more than that. But the fact is, it was worth spending the money. Why? Because you found out that it needs a lot of repairs doing to it. And, even if you do purchase it, you need to know that you can fund those repairs if the vendor is not willing to drop it. One thing I would say is that now that this is flagged up, it's flagged up for the agent, it's flagged up for the vendor selling it. And even if they do kick back and go, well, no, that's the property, that's the deal, you take it or you leave it. And the thing is, if you do walk away from it, and the agent obviously will go to the next buyer, the new buyer solicitor will always, it's in his or her interest to protect the purchaser and check and see if there's any known problems with the building. But unfortunately for the vendor knows because of the previous survey that was done, and so does the agent. So they have to disclose that information because both the solicitors and the agents are, they are audited once in a while, and they are kind of governed by that. I think you could always throw that at them and say, well, look, okay, fine, you're not prepared to drop the price, but obviously you know that this would come out in the woodwork, excuse the pun, for any future buyers. And I think that is very true, and I've seen that happen in the past as well. So I definitely would put that back in their call if they don't, they're not willing to drop the price for the repairs that need doing. And good on you, Sarah. Let
us know how you get on, Sarah. Be interested to hear. And the next question then we've got for today's episode is from Jack in Newquay, and Jack has said, I have a buy-to-let property and currently pay £60 a month for maintenance. There are 20 flats in this block, so this should be giving £14,400 in worth of maintenance fees. Now, the building looks in poor condition with broken gutters and it's not been painted in years. I feel the money is not being used for the maintenance of the building at all. What can I do, as I don't feel I have any control? James, one for you.
Well, Jack, I think that's a really good question and one that I can relate to, and it's one that many buy-to-let landlords, I think, can relate to. It's for me, I quite like to have control of my property, and it is very annoying, especially when you have a block of that size. You've got 20 flats. It's normally kind of managed by a property company that's been set up, and everybody in the block, they pay their money, and you have got a huge amount of money there. For 14,400. That's huge. There is no reason why, especially gutters and painting, in the grand scheme of things, that isn't exactly expensive works. And I don't know how long you've owned the property there, Jack, but you've got to think how many years they've been collecting that 14,400. And if you're saying it doesn't look like the property's been painted in years, then it sounds to me that somebody is putting that money elsewhere and profits are going. Because sometimes, I'm not saying it is in this case, but you can have for these companies, there's normally like a board of directors. There's like 3 of them that own the leasehold, and they pay themselves a salary from that leasehold, and that can be a little bit unfair. So definitely, I would firstly find out who the leasehold company is, and I would get in contact with them so that they can find out exactly where the money is going. And you should be able to see an annual set of accounts, and it will show all the money that's coming from every one of those flats and where it's been spent, and you can challenge them on that. Dan, any thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Again, it's the freehold management company, isn't it? They're the ones that take it. They're the ones that take the money, and it's their responsibility. And it'll be interesting to read your leases as well. I'm sure there'll be clauses in your lease that you've got that maybe stipulate this is what should be done. If it's not done, this is the procedure. There should be things like that in your lease as well, Jack. So it's well worth just having a little look in that. And if you're not unsure, maybe pass to a solicitor just to give you some guidance on there. But definitely you need to speak up. Maybe speak with the neighbours as well. Because I'm sure if you're having a headache and you're noticing this, I'm sure a lot more, and out of 20 of you owners of these flats, even if half of you spoke up, that's going to hopefully give a bit of a difference. And crikey, if you were to stop paying a month, they'd soon be on your back, wouldn't they? So absolutely. Again, that's the kind of, I wouldn't ever recommend not paying, but at the same time, if you need someone to start listening to you, that's the first thing that I'd probably do is say, Aaron, well, now you're starting to listen. Well, can we now have a conversation, please, as to where this money is going? Because it's not being spent where we need it to be spent. So, no, I feel for you, Jack. But at the same time, if you need something being done, you need to. It sounds like you're going to be the one that has to start this ripple effect with the other owners, I guess. So
absolutely, and just what Dan's mentioned about speaking up, I do know that you can send emails and make phone calls, and it lands on deaf ears because they don't want you to be challenging them where the money's being spent, but. What I would say is that they don't have to, but it's advisable that every year you have an annual general meeting where all the tenants come together. And if you get a few of you involved to go and knock on some of the other flats, landlords' doors that get them to all come in at the same time and say, hey, we would actually like to have an AGM, and that can really get discussed at the next available opportunity. If you've not had an AGM in a long time, then it sounds to me like it's about time to have one. That's a good way of voicing your concerns and opinions.
For sure, definitely. That's it. Well, hopefully those answered your questions there, Sarah and Jack, and thank you ever so much for getting in touch. Really is appreciated. And again, if you've got any questions off the back of those answers, or if you've got any, this is kind of like sparked a flurry of questions, shall I say, for yourself, then please, property related, of course, send them in to James and myself, and we'll do our best to get you on here. So we've got a bit of a backlog at the minute of questions, but we'd love to see if we can help you. We're also going to be starting to have some local professional property experts coming on. So
really excited about that.
Yeah, definitely. And next week we've got, the next couple of episodes, we're going to have some lettings experts coming who are very high up on the lettings world, which we're really excited with. So again, if you've got any letting specific questions, please chuck them in, and we can obviously throw them at the new guests we've got. But again, if you can recommend, if you've got someone that you know who is in property and is doing great things and you recommend us speaking to them, we'd love to speak with local property experts, whether you're investing, whether you're a professional, be it solicitor, mortgage broker, agent, whatnot, please do get in touch, because we'd love to get you on the podcast and maybe help promote yourself and your services, and also help educate. And everyone wants to move forward and help this housing crisis. So if we all work together and do our little bit, when hopefully we can get there in small steps.
Absolutely. And just one last time, you can get in contact with us on cornwallpropertypodcast.com on our front page there in the message box at the bottom. And you can also get us on Facebook, which is where many of you guys do. So keep it coming.
Fantastic. Yeah, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And that's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Take care.